Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. We're going to analyze the Daniel Penny interrogation video. It's not the full interrogation. This is an 8-minute clip that was released, but I think that there's something very important that we can learn from reviewing this. I would also like to say, if you have not been following this case and you want to catch up on what is happening with the trial, I have a video that I put out that I will link in the video description below. But let's get into this interrogation.
Daniel? Yep. I'm Detective McCarthy. I'm Detective Medina.
Okay, so we've got Detective McCarthy and Medina here. And I want to say right off the bat, my first advice to people is to never ever speak to any kind of law enforcement without an attorney present. Never ever do this. I think that this just shows Daniel Penny's naivete and the fact that in his mind, he's not thinking he's done anything and he's so innocent, he doesn't understand that this whole thing is basically a setup. He probably believes that, you know, the cops are the good guys and that they're going to be interested in the truth. Of course, that's not the case, but let's get into it.
This is where you're at right now.
Cool.
How you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Okay.
Very good. Very good.
I'm doing well.
Yeah,
You served in the Marine Corps down here?
I did, yes.
I served in the Marine Corps.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Got my little death before dishonor test.
Okay, so what they're doing now is kind of establishing or trying to establish a baseline with Daniel Penny. They're trying to kind of get him to feel at ease and relaxed. You know, they brought in Detective Medina. I think that they chose him for a reason because he's also a Marine. So they wanted to bring in somebody that Daniel could relate to, right? Here's somebody who's a fellow Marine. You know, he's a brother, right? Oh, you can trust him. You can let your guard down. So just know that this is 100% manipulative right off the bat.
Oh, nice, man.
What you doing? What was your MOS in the middle?
I was in 0351.
I was an 0331.
Oh, cool. Machine gun. Yeah,
Yeah.
weapons platoon.
Yeah,
Nice, man.
yeah.
Oh, and by the way, he said he still has his death before dishonor tattoo. I would ask him why he felt the need to dishonor us all by participating in this sham, but you're
I was
right.
not military, so I don't know what that stuff is.
It's like another language.
3rd Battalion, 6th Marines.
Okay, there you go.
So,
36.
96 to 2000.
Nice, man.
Two med floats, did my thing, and then I ended up here. Now I got close to 22 years here now, man.
Good.
So he did 2 tours, probably in Iraq, and now he's been with the cops, the New York police, for 22
Good pension
years.
coming up.
Yeah, man.
I grew up in
Good
Queens as well.
pension.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, nice.
And then they brought in the other cop who has no military experience. He grew up in Queens, where Mr. Penny is from.
Anyway, listen, Daniel. So we want to talk to you about what happened today.
Sure.
You know, thank you for sticking around.
Yeah.
You know, and being cooperative.
Absolutely.
And Rob serving in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So he's like, yeah, you know, thanks for sticking around. Thanks for being cooperative. I noticed that he didn't thank him for his service. He mentioned that they both served, but he didn't say thank you for your service, which I just thought was weird because he's thanking him, but he didn't thank him for that. So I don't know if that was a slight or not, just something I
what we
noticed.
speak to you about today, we have to read you your rights.
Sure, absolutely.
So I'm going to read you your rights. After each question, I'm going to say, do you understand? Say yes or no in a loud, clear voice.
So like I said in the beginning, when you're in a situation like this and you're with law enforcement, whenever they start reading you your rights, that is your cue to shut your mouth, to request a lawyer, and don't talk, because you may inadvertently self-snitch. And even if you're innocent, you may inadvertently say something that could be used to potentially, you know, frame you.
You got to
set
say
you
yes
up.
or no. You can't just like nod your head. I got to
Sure.
hear it, okay?
Okay.
You have the right to remain silent and refuse to answer questions. Do you understand?
I understand.
Anything you do
They're
say may be
Mirandizing
used against you in a court of law. Do you understand?
I understand.
You have the
Yes,
right
so
to
you don't
consult
say
an attorney
anything.
before speaking to the police and to have an attorney present during any questioning now or in the future. Do you understand?
I understand.
If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you without cost. Do you understand?
I understand.
If you do not have an attorney available, you have the right to remain silent until you've had an opportunity to consult with one. Do you
Okay, so here's something that is that they like to do, right? The normal person, your average person, doesn't usually have an attorney on tap, right? Most people don't just have like a lawyer unless you're rich or something. But if you're a regular person, you're not going to just have a lawyer. So what they're doing here is, they kind of make you feel like, oh, it'd be super simple. We just want to clear a few things up. We just need you to answer a couple of very simple, easy questions. We can't do this though if you want to get a lawyer. Basically, if you have to have a public defender, you need a court-appointed lawyer, you would have to sit there and wait for your lawyer to be appointed before you can leave. And so part of this process is most people want to be in and out, or they wouldn't have been able to hold him at all, right? He could have just left. He did not have to sit down for this. He could just say, I'd like to confer with a lawyer before speaking with you guys, and they would have to let him leave and let him obtain an attorney beforehand. But this is the game that they play. They want you to feel like, oh, it would be super simple. We just have a few questions. And they kind of set it up to make you feel bad or make it feel like you might have something to hide if you don't agree to answer their questions, which is not a fact-finding thing, by the way. It's not.
You understand?
I understand.
Now that I've advised you of your rights, are you willing to answer questions?
Yes.
Okay. So, kind of run with me and Detective Medina, the course of your day, where you're coming from, where you're going, and then what led up to, the incident on the train.
Absolutely. So I have class.
And I do want to say that just based on my observation of Daniel Penny's demeanor here, he does not appear to be giving off any signs of deception. He's not, he doesn't appear to be in distress. He's speaking very forthright, he's responding right away. He's not sitting there thinking before he answers. He's not even carefully considering his words.
Down in Brooklyn, I take the F down to J Street Metro Tech. My class was at 12. So once the class finished up, I was going straight to the gym. I go to the gym in Lifetime on 23rd Street. So I get off, I take the F straight from school to the gym. Was on there. I forget what stop it was at, but some guy came in. He's like, whipped his jacket off, and he's like, "I'm gonna kill everybody. I can go to prison forever. I don't care. I don't do this." At that point, I looked to the person next to me like, "Hey, just hang on."
So there, at no point is he stopping to pausing to think about like, oh, what happened next or what. He is just, it's just coming right out. So he seems to be very, very truthful, and his body language, he's not showing again any signs of distress or nervousness.
Onto this phone for me. I had my headphones in, took it off, and just kind of like grabbed him from behind because he came in, just to like, because he was acting like a lunatic, like a crazy person. So, and he was rolling around the floor, and at that point the train stopped. I was like, someone call the cops, and he's still like rolling around, still going crazy. Had two other.
I think that speaks to his intent too, and kind of his frame of mind that he is the one that requests the assistance of law enforcement. He asked people, hey, call the cops. If you were intending to hurt somebody, why would you ask people to call the cops to have them show up?
The guys kind of helped me, just kind of keep them from going nuts, and yeah.
And one other thing I want to add too is that these cops here are probably the best liars in the room. They have experience. They're trained to be liars. Basically, federal investigators, they are trained to basically weave a complex pattern of lies and truth to keep track of it, and then to try to use the confusion to trip somebody up. So they're trained to basically, they'll listen to your story and they're making note of like the things you're saying. Then they're gonna rerun through your story, and they're gonna rephrase your answers, but they're gonna twist it a little bit. They're gonna throw in a word maybe that you didn't use, and they're hoping that you say yes and not along, and go along with what they just did. It's very, very sneaky.
Okay.
Did he seem like he was on something? Did he seem
Absolutely.
intoxicated and high?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that K2 that they're smoking, pushing people in front, like these people are going crazy.
So they also try to, again, make him feel comfortable by making it sound like they know where he's coming from, right? they ask, oh, he seemed like he was on something, right? They're trying to get him to basically make a statement about Jordan Neely's demeanor, his appearance, maybe say something untoward or something that, you know, that could be used to make him look bad or paint him in a bad light. And what I find interesting about this is here Daniel Penny has correctly identified what we actually now know from the toxicology was in Jordan Neely's system, that is K2. K2 is a synthetic marijuana product, a synthetic cannabinoid that has 2 times the potency of regular marijuana. And Jordan Neely, it has a history of schizophrenia, so I don't know how that might have affected him, but it's very hard because these synthetic products change all the time. The formulas change, you know, they're created in a lab, and you can't tell from toxicology the amount that was in somebody's system, you just know it was in there. So we will never know how much of that stuff he actually consumed prior to having this episode, but it was in fact K2. And another thing that should be noted about toxicology is that the woman who performed the toxicology, she had already determined Jordan Neely's cause of death before she even got the results in. She claimed he died as a result of the chokehold, and she even added that even if it came out that he was on some kind of substance and overdosed, she would still blame the chokehold as the cause of death, which I just think is criminal. I don't know how she could even be allowed to say that and keep her job.
So he seemed off his lid, basically.
A little bit, yeah.
Now
He
explain
seemed
the
off his lid,
interaction
you
had,
think?
man.
So I came up, had his back turned to me, and I just kind of got him in a hold, got him to the ground. He was still like squirming around and still, you know, going crazy. And I turned to a guy, I'm like, hey, call the cops, because the train arrived in Broadway.
Yeah.
And then waited for you guys.
Okay. Dan,
So this is a very short interaction here. It was basically between stops on a subway. He had, you know, requested that they call law enforcement, and as he's describing it, he was basically just trying to basically restrain Jordan Neely until law enforcement arrived.
This is Danny, right?
Yes, great.
Do you mind showing me?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, so he's standing behind me.
This was a big mistake also. You know, he should never have been speaking to these cops without his lawyer present, but certainly not demonstrating the actual hold that he performed. You don't do that without having a lawyer present, because they're going to try to look for ways to twist this, and indeed they do.
And I kind of came like this.
Okay. Did you apply pressure, Daniel?
No, I wasn't. I just wanted to keep him from getting to people.
Yeah, they asked that for a reason. They were hoping he would say yes.
Put your hooks in?
Wrapped my legs.
Did you learn the jiu-jitsu from the Marine Corps?
I did, yes.
They're asking that for a reason also.
You learned how to grapple in the Marine Corps. What belt level you made it to?
Green.
Green belt?
Yeah.
Good? Alright.
It was alright. I was a little bit,
Still trying to establish that rapport, make him feel comfortable with a fellow Marine.
I should have went higher.
Should've
Laughing
applied yourself more, huh?
with
Yeah,
him,
I mean,
trying to make
hindsight's
him
20/20,
feel
right?
relaxed.
So he says, you know, if I don't get this, I'm gonna kill everyone. Something
Going
to
to
that.
jail forever.
Yeah.
I'm willing to.
Is it at that point that's when you get up and
Yes.
decide to put him in the hold?
After
Because it looks
he's
like
in-
a sleeper hold to me.
And so he throws out, it looks like a sleeper hold to me. Now, that is interesting because remember, in the beginning of this interrogation, this guy said he knew nothing about the military. He goes, oh, it's like a foreign language to me. That stuff's like a foreign language to me. Now, all of a sudden, he knows what a sleeper hold is, and he's throwing that out there to try to get Daniel to agree that that is the hold that he performed on Jordan Neely. It's very, very sneaky behavior.
Like,
Right,
something
yeah.
similar to like.
I'm not trying
No.
to kill the guy.
Right.
I'm just trying to de-escalate the situation, right?
I understand.
Yeah.
So he's already walked through what happened. He's already said what he was trying to do. He just made it clear his intent was to de-escalate. He's not trying to start anything. But now listen to this.
Daniel, not a sleep hold, but would you say what you put him in, because I do take Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu myself, I've been taking it for many years, would you say that was considered a
for
rear naked
you.
choke?
Now they threw that out for a reason too. Rear naked choke. Oh, was it this then? And that is what the prosecutors later used at trial. They came up with, oh, it was a rear naked chokehold and he didn't perform it correctly. That was their theory. And so I want you guys to understand and listen good. These cops They're not your friend. They're not the good guys. They're not here on a fact-finding, truth-seeking mission. They're here to try to lay the prosecutors groundwork for them, to set the stage to persecute him. That is what is happening here. You never, ever talk to them without a lawyer present. They're not your friend. They're not on your side. They're not just going to go, oh, we just want the truth. No, this isn't Law and Order.
I don't train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so I'm not.
But in the Marine Corps, is that considered rear naked choke?
Not. I don't know what.
So he's like throwing out his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu terms, and Penny's like, I don't take that, so I don't know. But they wanted him to agree that that's what it was. They're like, oh, well, isn't that what they do in the Marine Corps? He still, to his credit, doesn't bite.
All that, no.
Good
I'm not
for
sure.
him.
Because I noticed that you put it around my neck and then you closed from behind.
I had it on the back of his head. I didn't press forward.
You didn't press forward.
I noticed when you were doing it to him too, you went to go put your leg.
So this is why he shouldn't have done this reenactment without his lawyer present, but you can see too that they're already trying to twist what he did to try to fit their narrative.
Around him.
I did.
Yeah.
Well, I held my lead so because if you're flopping around and stuff, you can easily get out of that if you don't lock it.
You did that to control him in place.
That's correct.
Explain to me what made you want to get involved? What made you?
Well, I mean, he's like.
He already answered this question. This is asked and answered already, but they're trying again to. They're going to reiterate they're going to have him go over the story again so they can add in those little things that to try to twist it slightly. Oh, why did you get in? He's already said what his intent was.
He's threatening people,
Mm-hmm.
and like I'm not confrontational. Not a confrontational guy. In the Marine Corps, I felt the need to step in.
Yeah.
There's women, children on the train. I'm sure there's ladies there that will vouch for me, and.
Yeah, remember that those women called him a hero and a good Samaritan, and remember that the prosecutors made it so that at trial they were not allowed to use the word hero or good Samaritan to describe him to the jury. They couldn't say those two words, hero and good Samaritan. So again, it was all a kangaroo court. This whole thing is a political persecution because Daniel Penny had the nerve to stand between innocent people and their attacker. He stood in line. And what's interesting about this, too, is because the Kyle Rittenhouse thing was a huge case, huge trial, big deal for self-defense and whatnot. And this case should be getting the same coverage that the Rittenhouse trial got, but it's just not, which I find deeply concerning.
He felt like he was threatening other people. He felt like
Oh, he was absolutely.
Did you feel like someone's life was in danger?
100%.
Okay.
Now, they asked that because if he said no, then they were going to say then what he did was excessive or unwarranted.
Did anybody else hold him down?
Yeah, there was two other guys that were helping. As soon as those guys came in and were holding his arms, then I kind of let up.
You let him go.
That's correct.
And when you let him go, what happened? What do you remember?
It was just.
Was he still moving? Was he still saying anything?
Yeah, he was moving a bit, and.
They already know this, and they know it, and we know it now because at trial, the body cam footage came out that showed he was still breathing when the police arrived. He later died in police custody because the police did not perform mouth-to-mouth on him because they thought he was a homeless person that might have some kind of disease.
I was worried that he would go again, so I was telling those guys, like, hey, like, make sure you keep hanging on to him.
So the three of you holding him down, or just the two other gentlemen?
Just the two other guys were hanging on to him.
And how long did they hold him down? They were holding him down by the arms?
Yeah, by the arms. By the arms.
How long were they holding him down before the cops got there?
Like I said, man, it's like you're exerting energy at that point.
Adrenaline is going, right?
Yeah, it's very hard. This is also why you don't talk to cops right after the incident. You try to speak to your lawyer first so that you have the time to really think about what happened, because in the moment, in a situation like that, where your adrenaline is going, where you've just been in a confrontation, where the police have showed up, you're in a heightened state of, you're kind of like hyper vigilant, hyper aware, and it's difficult to remember approximate times for things. You know, it would be better if he waited, spoke to a lawyer, and then talked to them. He might have an easier time, you know, remembering things exactly as they happened. But this is right after it happened, and the adrenaline is still going, so it probably makes it very
Like
difficult.
fight or flight, everything's going,
That's correct.
you lose track of time.
Yep.
I understand.
Mm.
At any given time, did you reapply any kind of holds on him once you let him go, or
No,
that was it?
no,
You got
that was it.
They asked that for a reason too.
And what do you remember from there? Explain to me.
Just the cops came and that was it. I got him.
Okay. When the cops came, what was he doing?
He was just on the ground.
Was he saying anything? Was he?
Like, that's it. That's all that happened. You guys came and you got him. Hello, what more is there to say? Oh, well, what was he doing at the time?
No.
They
I'm
know
trying
the
to,
answer
like, all
to
these people
this.
are like filming and shit and like there.
And that's
I
going
don't
to be
know.
crazy too. You know, most people in this situation, they don't step in to defend others because they see what happens to people who do. They see what happens to people who simply try to defend themselves and their property. You remember what happened to the McCloskeys? And so they're trying to make an example of him.
Anything else
And
you
he
remember,
probably knows
Danny,
that.
from this interaction? Anything else that was said? Anybody else say anything to you?
I mean,
what happened?
I mean, everyone on the train was. I asked a few people like, "Hey, stick around when the cops come," just so, and they were like, "Yeah, well." And then people were thanking me and stuff because he was. I wasn't like I'm not trying to. I'm.
So people were even thanking him for what he did to protect them.
Like I said, I'm not a confrontational guy,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not out here like trying to attack people. You know, it's not me, not how I was trained.
Yeah.
You know, I just
And he's already said this 3 or 4 different times at this point. They know this.
felt the need that this guy was saying that he's gonna kill people, that he's prepared to go to jail for life. I hear that. I'm like,
But he was making enough of a scene that you noticed him, and then you probably would have noticed if he put his hands on someone.
So the implication here, what this guy, Detective McCarthy, is trying to imply is that, well, you know, you didn't see him put his hands on anybody, like, so he should be allowed to harm somebody first before somebody steps in, as he's blatantly threatening people when he was lunging at the woman who had a child behind
I
her.
didn't.
Okay.
No.
All right, that's fine. And then once he starts doing that, that's when you try to subdue him.
Yes,
He already said that. Already asked and answered, buddy.
I wasn't trying to like injure him.
Right.
I'm just trying to keep him from hurting anybody else. He's threatening people. That's what we learned in the Marine Corps. That's what you guys learn as police officers. It's the same thing. If you're off duty, you're gonna intervene in a situation where it's.
Yeah, so I don't think they would, though. He's like, oh, this is how you guys were trained too. Yeah, okay, sure. I don't think that they would have done the right thing. But as you can see from that interrogation, at no point were they really interested in just getting the truth from this guy, getting a statement. It's all very clear cut. There's video from on the train, there's the body cam footage, there's multiple eyewitness reports, you know, the people that thanked him, that called him a hero and a good Samaritan. There was a woman who testified that she's actually been threatened before. She's seen threatening, been in the threatening situations before on the subway, but she said that this was unlike anything she'd ever encountered in her like 20 plus years of riding the subway, where she genuinely felt scared for her life. So, and that was, by the way, a prosecution witness. So, this whole thing is a farce. It shouldn't be even happening. But like I said, the whole point is to set a precedent and to make an example of him, so that the state, who has the monopoly on force and does most of the victimizing of innocent people in this country, what they're really trying to teach people is, do not stand in the way between the state and the people they want to victimize, using their monopoly on force. And if you try to do so, you will be made an example of. This is why the Whitmer guys were made an example of, because when the Summer of Love was happening in 2020 and cities were being burned to the ground, businesses were being looted, these were the guys that were organizing to protect and defend their neighborhoods and their communities. They were training to do so. That was part of their training, was defensive training. That's all it was for, was to say, hey, we're not going to let this happen in our community. We're going to stand up and we're going to be, the people that are protecting others, and that is why they had to be destroyed. And look what's happened to those guys. We've got 2 of them still in Supermax. We have 3 at the state side who are having their appeals tampered with and delayed purposely. We still haven't received any word from the Sixth Circuit about whether they're going to grant Adam and Barry a new trial. And I believe they should. I think that they're probably waiting until after the inauguration. I think that they kind of want to see the new incoming administration, who's coming into the DOJ, the FBI, etc., before they put their decision out. And I would say that that's cowardly. Justice should be blind. It shouldn't be predicated on who's in power, who's in, what office. I think that that's ridiculous. But here we go. Here we are. So as far as this case goes, Daniel Penny has rested. The defense has rested their case without calling Daniel Penny to testify on his own behalf. Normally, in a case that is highly political, like this one is, like the Whitmer one was, I always advise those people to testify on their own behalf, because typically in these cases, the media has already convicted them in the court of public opinion on day one, before any of the discovery has even come in, well before the actual trial itself. They smear these people in advance. And so the only conception that people have of them is what they've heard from the corporate media. So you need to kind of counter that and show people who the real person is, not what the FBI is saying they are, not what the media is saying they are. They need to speak for themselves. Now, Daniel has been smeared in the media. I wouldn't say to the same extent, though. So maybe this was a good strategy, and for whatever reason, that was his lawyer's decision. But I think it's important to consider that a lot of this stuff is basically perception, and it is, you kind of maybe need to do that. I know it's not, it has been in the past frowned upon, right? But in the social media age, that is changing more and more. And people are starting to realize that if you have been smeared in the media for months leading up to your trial, you do need to counter this false portrayal of yourself and show people who you really are. And sometimes that means testifying on your own behalf and taking the stand, even when that might be a risky thing to do. So with that being said, hopefully we get a not guilty verdict soon and that justice is delivered, although this is a New York jury, so it could go either way. I encourage you guys to please pray for Daniel Penny and his family in this time, that pray for the jurors, that they are strong and that they do the right thing, because we don't want to live in a world. Think about the precedent it sets if he's found guilty. Nobody wants to live in a world where if you are in a situation that is life-threatening, like myself as a woman with my daughter, and somebody was lunging at me and threatening me, I would not want bystanders to just stand there because they're too scared to intervene because of something like this. I don't think anybody wants to live in that world. So please keep him uplifted in prayer. Also, keep the Whitmer guys uplifted in prayer as well. And that's it. I'm interested to know your thoughts on the interrogation. And of course, speaking to law enforcement without a lawyer is always a bad idea. Just want to reiterate that again. Please don't do that. Always have a lawyer present, because law enforcement is not your friend. They're not there on a fact-finding mission. They're there to win a case and to lay the groundwork for doing so. So that's it for now. I hope you guys had a great holiday, a lovely Thanksgiving with your families, and I hope you all have a good day. Bye!